officers elections would focus on the man who is number 5 on the ballot in a push to be 5th time lucky.
Everybody's saying time has come. It is time for him to ascend the chairmanship seat of this party.
National Chairperson candidate Stephen Team is our focus. Stay for more on this here on the Midday News with me, Emefa. Apawu, many thanks for choosing us. This is your home of independent, fearless and credible journalism. Reason why you want to stay for details. Thanks for staying with us. A gentle reminder that the experience is always better on our digital platforms. Look for Joy99.7 FM for our live feed on this. But this afternoon, the story of the Ghanaian economy in the eyes of citizens.
Allowance was intended to cover, the cost of some basic needs in the course of serving the country. It has been woefully inadequate. 559 in the midst of this economic condition, transportation fares always going up and all that.
A litre of petrol was going for 6 cedis, 30 pesos. Today, as we speak, it's hovering around 11 cedis, 41 pesos. This is almost 100% increment. And as a teacher, you feel that it's not worthy, serving the country.
How can they serve God when things are so difficult for them? It's sad. You see, people can't give offering as they will or as they want to. People cannot pay tithes very well like they used to.
A cry of desperation, one that government has heard and responded with what it says is the uncomfortable decision to seek support from the International Monetary Fund. Information Minister Kojo Ponkrumah says the aim is to get some $3 billion from the fund in at least 4 months. Organised labour is already agitating, alleging there could be a possible freeze on wages and employment, as was experienced in the past. Dr. Kwabnotu is Director, Labour Research and Policy Institute at the TUC.
One, they do not offer any lasting, durable solutions to the country's problems. They will scratch on the edges of the problem. The fundamental problems of the economy will remain after 3-4 years of implementing. Second, they will immediately impose action. So we saw that in the last IMF Extended Credit Facility Program, government will not employ into the public sector. Wages were frozen at their real levels. And we think that this time workers are already struggling too much, and it will be too much to ask them to sacrifice again. But our fear is that IMF programs, as we have always known them, will impose needless hardships on Ghanaians, and in the end deliver nothing substantial by way of improving our economic circumstances.
Former Finance Minister Seth Terkper says government needs to engage Labour and Ghanaians on what it intends to present to the IMF as the economic recovery program.
These, for us, were the things that prompted us to do such consultation. Because you are asking questions now, Labour, everybody will be there. Because you are going into a program that will affect all of them, right? And remember, we wanted to do a homegrown policy. In fact, there's a feeling that we said we didn't want to go to IMF. No, we were negotiating intermediate programs. They have some programs like the policy support instrument (PSI), where you say this is my policies. We agree with you, but we are not taking your money, which we believe, with the buffers that we left. Or you can also do it, and that comes with a standby agreement, which means that in a period like COVID, that's when you go, to get some money, right? So these are all issues which we have to discuss. But the thing that pushes really to do that was at a point in time, because of Single Spine and others, the development partners withdrew budget support.
Well, government has been giving clarity on what it intends to do as negotiations with the IMF takes off on Wednesday. Kojo Ponkrumah has been speaking to me on the probe on the Joy News channel.
BOP support, which is only a limited window of support for a particular purpose. 2, domestic resource mobilization, ensuring that we're able to move from this about 12% of GDP that we are contributing so that my brother can get his allowance, cost of living, government can better respond to the economic crisis that we are facing. The broader economic challenges that also require a deeper collaboration with industry and other private sector players who have some capital to find more space to operate. And as they operate and there's more productivity, we get back into the national kitty.
Okay, so I don't know if you're able to quantify, because I haven't heard you give me in terms of what the economic cost actually is for us as a country, and is the IMF able to secure that cost for us as we go to them?
So you ask yourself, what do you need to show up your buffers, for example, in the central bank? You're looking somewhere around about $3 billion. Okay. And already you recall that the finance minister initially indicated that there were arrangements to get about $2 billion, up to about $2 billion, out of which there's $1 billion now available. Parliament has to approve for us to receive so that the cedi does not depreciate further, so that we have a shore up of our reserves to be able to meet liquidity and debt servicing obligations, even as our domestic measures will get better. And then you are hoping to get about another outstanding $1 billion from elsewhere. You have the window to start talking to the fund to see.
Well, we know that government pushed through with the e-levy to avoid going for such a program in spite of the public uproar. Will it scrap the levy now that the nation has gone for the support?
When you introduce a revenue measure, it takes a while for it to hit its optimal levels. Take VAT.
Then why not wait?
Well, but while you are waiting, my brother who has challenges with his national service allowance, I'm not sure, Emefa, you will tell him to wait. I'm not sure you will tell our colleagues from TUC to wait. I'm not sure you will tell our school feeding caterers who have not been paid to wait. You cannot wait when people are going through pain and difficulty like this. A responsible government will have to, while you are allowing the revenue measure to pick up and plug the loopholes, you have to take other measures that ensure that you can shore it up. That's why we've done two things. We've got $1 billion at the doorsteps of Parliament and take care of our obligations so that people's pain will be reduced. And then we've started engagement with the fund. But I've heard people say the tax measure was not well structured. If it wasn't well structured, let's look at it and structure it well. But at the end of the day, we have to mobilize some more domestic resources to respond, and we cannot wait.
Information Minister Kojo Ponkruma, well, the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, is meanwhile urging government to utilize the bailout fund to invest in industry, said Chuma Kwabwa is CEO.
Our structure has remained the same, very import dependent, exports of primary products, exports of cocoa, gold, and the rest, little small volumes of exports of non-traditional products. Those are the areas we need to critically look at. So if you are going for such a program, how do we channel the resources and the energy such that we solve this fundamental problem? In this case, if you do so and you do it very well, freeze unemployment will not become a major issue because private sector is the one employing a lot more people. And then the few that are employed in the public sector will get the right living wages that will also make them comfortable.
That's the CEO of Association of Ghana Industries, Seth Chuma Kwabwa. This afternoon, there's more trouble for government as workers in Ghana's education sector declare indefinite strike over government's failure to pay up their cost of living allowance, what they call COLA. The workers made up of TEU, NAT, NAGRAT, and CCT had demanded that 20% of their basic salary be paid them. This was to help mitigate the impact of the rising cost of living on them. But after a June 30 deadline was exhausted, the workers have withdrawn their services both in and outside the classroom. Here's General Secretary of NAT, Thomas Musa, addressing a joint press conference by the workers.
Education can no longer bear the hardship. Even more so, we reject the inequality of salaries in the public services of this country. And I want to take this particular aspect again. Even more so, we reject the inequality of salaries in the public service of this country. We have been compelled under the current circumstances to publicly communicate to Ghanaians on our intention to go on strike. Having gone past the June 30th, 2022 deadline, we gave government for the payment of cost living allowance. Consequently, we have decided to embark on a strike action.
Well, that's Thomas Musa there, the General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Teachers. My colleague Manuel Kranting has been covering that news conference for us, joins us on the line. Manuel, so we've been hearing these concerns over the past few months. What would you say was the final trigger for the strike?
Well, Emefa, according to Thomas Musa, who spoke on behalf of these 4 labor unions, government's posturing has been quite abysmal. In fact, on Friday, the 1st of July, there was a meeting called by the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations with these labor unions, and it turns out that there was no concrete proposal from the ministry for them. And that was after their June 30 ultimatum to government had elapsed. And so after that, they had no option but at this point to call the nationwide strike.
Well, let's talk about the implication of the impending IMF bailout on their demands. Did the teachers talk about it?
Indeed. Mr. Mark Kranche, who is the General Secretary for the KEU, said that all their concerns had actually been up before conversations about a return to the IMF for a bailout started. And so their demands stand unabated and will not, allow their return to the IMF gets them to change their mind.
Well, we know how the Labour Commission always reacts to such strikes once they are, declared. Are they on the same page with the Labour Commission on this?
Also, Angel Kabonu, who is president of NAGAT, says a stern warning and says that if the National Labour Commission, which indeed have the mandate and responsibility to call government to order in paying their COLA, attempts to go to court to seek an ex parte injunction to compel them to go back to their classrooms, then they will sever ties with the National Labour Commission and will not, on authority, as he says, honor any invitation by the National Labour Commission for any negotiation regards their work.
That's my colleague Manuel Kranting. We have more of that on myjoyonline.com. But the Catholic Bishops' Conference this afternoon have been wading into matters of concern to them at a news conference today. Among others, they are worried about the politicization of issues in the country. Most Reverend Gabriel Kumoji speaks for the conference.
And we shouldn't let anybody sit on the fence. Because if we say party, I think the politicization is too much in Ghana. That's what I would say. Let us all put our hands together. Going to IMF now, it's not only one party going. It's not party A and it's not party B. All of us, Ghana is going. So those who sit will say, oh, you see, we told you. And if you don't listen and say, we are going to do it, you cannot do it alone. We need to work together. We should minimize the politicization and party politics. And let's work for the good of Ghana, the common good of Ghana.
Thankfully, Most Reverend Gabriel Kumoji joins us live. We are grateful for your time here on the Midday News, sir. So specifically, what would you say you've observed that you believe is not helping the national cause?
Oh, are you talking about the country? Because concerning the country, at the moment, I think we need to work together as the citizens of Ghana. And citizens working together will all bring our talents and our professionalism to bear on the country going forward. And so this is what I would suggest that.
Well, but I see that you've been talking, for instance, about the IMF, for instance, Ghana going to the IMF and how we should all rally around government as they take this decision. But prior to this, at least you've monitored the discourse around this. Do you think that if we had been more transparent in terms of where we are as an economy, more people would have rallied around it than we are seeing now?
Yeah, going to IMF now, the decision has been taken as probably already by government to go. And so we are praying that we'll be able to put things in order in Ghana. Because at the moment, many of the Ghanaians are suffering. Many things are going up. Salaries are still at a standstill. And so we pity a lot of people who are not working or they are not getting the daily monthly pay. So we are asking that since we have gone to IMF 18 times, we should learn something from it. What can we learn from it? As people who have gone to IMF 18 times. So anytime any government comes, I am advocating that we should come together with all those who have gone through and led the country in the IMF to sit and reflect together. What can we do to avoid that? and then we work towards it. And that will help us as a nation, but not in particular caucuses or groups of, as groups. No, we are not serving the groups, we are serving the nation.
It looks like the conference is concerned about the politicization of issues in particular. What are you proposing, that all parties come together to resolve such national issues?
Yes, national issues are national issues. And I think that every Ghanaian who has a heart for Ghana must be invited to share. But it shouldn't be politicized. Like, especially the development of the common good of Ghana must not be politicized. It must be something we work together. And I know we have experts on different parts of the eye. We have experts in different groups who are sitting on the fence because they will be politicized if they come in. And so if they can come together and we can work together, I think we can lift Ghana up.
We are grateful for your time. That's the Most Reverend Gabriel Kumoji speaks for the Catholic Bishops' Conference. Well, at the Jubilee House, President Akufo-Addo has been meeting with chief executives of private enterprises, where he says he's counting on the Development Bank of Ghana to make long-term credit available to the private sector. Seen as the engine of growth, the non-availability of adequate financing continues to hamper its potential.
We have seen in our period of history, the 20th century essentially, have all been the countries where the private sector has been the dominant force in economic growth and development. We have the examples: Japan, Korea, the so-called Asian tigers. All these names that are now part of the common vocabulary of all of us are the names of people: Hyundai, Toyota, Marubeni. They're all the names of the people who founded these enterprises and that have now become worldwide entities. And that is the example that has always inspired me in my career as a public official and as a politician. That we will get a situation whereby the private sector in our country will be the lead agency, the lead vehicle for the social and economic transformation that we're all looking for.
President Akufo-Addo there. I'll take you live to the Jubilee House and join my colleague Elton Brobe. But we know that some ministers of state, including that of Trade and Industries, Alan Kwejo-Tremantin, are part of those attending this particular meeting with the president and chief executives of private enterprises. We're told that conspicuously missing is the finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. And Elton joins us on the line with more on this. Elton, has there been any explanation as to why the finance minister was absent?
Well, according to the chief executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Yofi Grant, the finance minister was invited, but the explanation he provided was that because of the current situation that the country finds itself in, the finance minister at the time of his introduction was engaged in a meeting with the governor of the Bank of Ghana because they are waiting to have a meeting with representatives from the IMF on Wednesday, so they are putting their notes together. And that was how come he was unable to make it to the CEO's conference this morning.
Today's meeting is come at an interesting time. We are in challenging times, but there is a certain commitment which is definitely not questionable. There's a commitment to it. I mean, if I would say, Mr. President himself was a strong advocate of business in his private sector days. He's an entrepreneur at heart who set up a number of businesses and got a number of businesses going. So whatever it is, your pain is his pain, but your progress is his progress. And he wants that to happen, I can assure you. The Minister of Finance really wanted to be here, but as you know, we are in trying times. Ghana becomes the 89th country to go to the IMF for support. We are not alone in that fight. So many other countries are there trying to fight the same fight. And it's a global crisis that requires a global. So he's in a conference to the central bank governor, who originally was also going to be here. But the events of the week have taken them away.
That's the Chief Executive of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Yofi Grant. This is the Midday News. We are live on Joy 99.7 FM, also on myjoyonline.com, also on Facebook. We've been talking about 4 teacher unions declaring an indefinite nationwide strike at a time that the nation is racing against time to avoid an economic meltdown. We've been hearing from the Information Minister, who says we need at least $3 billion from the IMF in the next 4 months to save the situation. The Catholic Bishops' Conference is also asking government to work with all parties in addressing problems confronting the country. When we return, we have sports, and then we build up to our coverage of the NPP National Officers elections with a focus on the man who is number 5 on the ballot in a push to be fifth time lucky.
Everybody's saying time has come. It is time for him to ascend the chairmanship seat of this party.
Yema Wakwaba, ba Akwaba Magic Busia, brand new channel, Tia Roba, Emuno Tiao, Ewo DSTV channel 149, and Go TV channel 108. Enianom Akwaba Magic Busia, Eddie Nidia Ghanaian programs mu Baufi, a bit said the day to have and to hold, and Yom Senior Cassia series and talk show, Bemoaka TV set Nachi, Akwaba Magic Busia, Ewo DSTV access to your 50 Ghana cedis per and Go TV value to your 25 Ghana cedis per Ebusia Akwaba.
Thanks for sticking with the best. It's the midday news here on Joy 99.7 FM. Let's do sports now, Muftal.
Emefa, Ghana is in trouble because FIFA has banned the country for 2 years for fielding players believed to be overaged and are playing a World Cup qualifier against Morocco. These two players, according to media reports, are Nancy Emo and Rashida Shahadu, who falsified their birth date information, and that they are above 17 years. The Ghana Football Association was asked by CAF to defend themselves, but the GFA did not file any defense, and FIFA has come up with a ruling that Ghana has been banned. Most of these players, according to what we know, gave all their details on Facebook. So the Moroccans went onto their Facebook pages and picked those details. They later deleted their Facebook pages, but the information was already available to them.
But were there any independent tests conducted at least to be sure
usually
that
what happens is that they go through MRI test, but in this particular match, there was something interesting to the extent that even the leadership of the Ghana Football Association decided that 5 of the players should not play after the Moroccans had raised red flags about those players. So clearly it gave an idea to the Moroccans that we had a case in this, so they pushed further. They even threatened the GFA to report Ghana to FIFA, and they still went ahead.
Above 17, do we know how old exactly they are?
That we cannot tell, but they just said they are above 17 years.
Okay, Muftal, thank you.
Thank you.
Now he will be on the ballot for a record 5th time at this time as candidate number 5, pushing to hold the position of national chairperson of the NPP, which has eluded him on all previous occasions. Stephen Ntim believes this is his time. He has a political desk report building up to our coverage of the NPP National Officers elections dated for July 15 to 17.
I'm entreating you to support me to win the election as well as to deliver on this promise of working closely and supporting our president.
This was Mr. Ntim's prayer to delegates in 2018. He was, however, rejected at the polls, losing to Freddie Blay. He will be number 5 on the ballot in what will be his 5th attempt to become national chairperson. Mr. Ntim describes himself as a loyal servant.
If we succeed in doing this by allowing the truth to prevail, by being genuinely truthful to ourselves, it will go a long way to motivate the younger generation to also work in the same selfless spirit for the party.
Currently serving as national chairman of the Lands Commission, he comes to the race with over 20 years experience as a systems engineer. He is promising to unite the party.
I'm going to make sure that there is unity in all those affected constituencies, apart from those that are in court with the NDC and the Electoral Commission.
Mr. Ntim comes up against 7 others, but is seen by many as the front runner. Only time will tell.
And that's the focus on Stephen Ntim. We focus on another candidate subsequently. Now, there's looming water shortage in Accra and part of the central region as encroachers take over the green belt, protecting the Wager Lake and the Wager Water Treatment Plant. The Ghana Water Company Limited had earlier said the increase in human activities in the buffer zone of the lake, including the illegal sand mining and development of estates, were threatening its ability to treat water. It took a visit by the Sanitation and Water Resources Minister Cecilia Abnadapa to stop the illegal activity. On this week's edition of Joy My Community, Manuel Cranting reports.
The Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, Cecilia Abena Dapa, led a task force to stop what turned out to be illegal sand winning just along the buffer zone of the Wager water treatment plant. Well, just months on, the destruction is still impacting the environment. What's more, encroachment on the buffer just along the Wager River also continues in earnest.
So he tells me these rocks are sourced from parts of the cliff which were being blasted and carted away by illegal sand miners. They left behind these huge rocks which he's breaking. What he's working on now will be used to cast concrete down the cliff where the buildings are fast springing up. He also admits that even though there's a greenbelt demarcation,
land ne ake how water works. It will be a fence and if a green belt.
Oh, anu kwalisani. Nimba bia ne tomo 2 years mine.
Oni obawa ma chon ya permit.
Nu oti permit. Ameke permit bia ne permit bia ne. Bona no ma chen me amen.
What does that mean? Mean ake permit bia ni chon ake me.
Ameke bia ne permit fi ready.
It's been close to 2 years since I came here. I couldn't get a permit. When I went to the assembly, they said the area is to be out of bounds. But we paid something to the officials at the assembly, and they allowed us to continue building.
That's Manuel Cranting with Joy in my community, and it's been reviewed the terrorist attacks in the sub-region is on the sharp rise as over 100 incidents have been recorded, leading to death of over 1,000 people within 3 months. The gloomy statistics of terrorism activity show that the threat is prevailing and becoming a reality, exposing more countries to this danger. Minister for National Security Albert Kandapa said this gives reasons for collaborative effort from neighboring countries to fight the security threat, as Ghana is not left out of these attacks. And just before we go, in the Ashanti region, the family of a 28-year-old trader and footballer allegedly picked from his home and killed by police at Nkranza are demanding an independent autopsy outside police influence. It says it would only accept that autopsy report from an independent pathologist outside the police hospital. Ohiming Terrier of our security desk will bring us more subsequently. And just before we go, our Drive Safe campaign.
Safe driving saves lives. Drive safe.
And this afternoon, motor vehicle crashes are a leading cause of death for children ages 1 to 13. Car seats and boosters provide protection for infants and children in a crash. Select a car seat based on your child's age and size and use it every time. As you're driving now, make sure the child is in that seat. That's how you drive safe. I am Emefa, Apawu, and that's it for the Midday News here on Joy 99.7 FM. We have Living Word with Pastor Mensoltable up next. Have a good afternoon.
Isn't life wonderful when everything worth doing is scheduled? Hitting the stop button on your alarm just in time for your morning jog.